Tuesday, March 6th, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, I've got some new information on these water anomalies that we've been following for several weeks, and they continue. They're persisting at different places around the globe. These are just the ones that we know about. I feel very confident that this is happening probably on a daily basis all around the world. Water covers 70% of the planet, so more than likely this phenomenon is occurring in different places. We just don't know about it. Here recently, we've got the Potomac that I'm going to share with you today. A couple of places in North Carolina, actually multiple places in North Carolina about 3 days ago, also in South Carolina. And I want to show you some interesting readings on the river gauges stretching from Florida clear up to Connecticut on the day of March 2nd when the water disappeared from North Carolina and South Carolina out of the rivers. But first, let me show you what I've got. The Potomac, it also was emptied the day of March 2nd when the rivers in North Carolina and South Carolina emptied. There were multiple locations. Also have pictures of a creek, and this is a large canal in the North Carolina area, and you can see this is what it looked like before. This is clearly the same location as the water disappeared. All of this took place on March 2nd. Story here at strangesounds.org. And there's another picture of a river. This is the Potomac River. This would be up near Chesapeake Bay. Same thing. Water just vanished. The article is alluding to what's known as blowout tide. That this is the side effect of strong winds from a storm that was going through the upper northeast known as a nor'easter. It was actually named Storm Riley. So that's what they're assuming that is going on here. But I humbly disagree. I don't think that's the case at all. You can see video of people standing out playing in these areas that become instant sandboxes. There's no wind. Their hair's not even blowing unless they're moving. So I don't think it's a wind phenomenon. I think it's a combination of other things, and maybe wind could be a player, but I don't think it's the dominating force behind this. I think it's something else, something very strong, something very big. And I have some information to share with you guys about this water phenomenon. But first I want to show you something regarding the day of March 2nd when the Potomac emptied. The rivers in North Carolina and South Carolina went completely dry. That canal that I showed you went completely dry. I want to show you some interesting river gauges, river gauge readings from here at the NOAA website. And this is the river gauges all across America. I want to focus on just the ones, or few, along the eastern seaboard. There's thousands on here. We're going to focus on the ones near the water anomalies that we heard about and saw pictures of. And then I'm going to focus on some that span the entire length of the eastern seaboard. And we're looking for trends. That's what we do a lot here at this channel. We follow trends. When it comes to being a watchman, you follow trends. Okay? And you got to go way back in history sometimes to find the trend and then look for the repetition over the course of maybe many decades. And in some cases, you can look for trends over the course of 30 days or just a few weeks. It all depends on what you're trying to study and trying to understand. And in this case, we're trying to understand where these water anomalies are coming from. What's the main instigator? Is it the moon? Is it the wind? Is it something else? Let me show you what I found. First, an email I received from a young man by the name of Casey. He has a contact, or had a contact, I think the person's still there, in Belize. And remember back when we had the water anomaly in Belize where the water disappeared from the coast? 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was after a 7.6 earthquake, just before or just after, I forget which. But anyway, the water completely receded away from the coastline along Belize, parts of Belize. Anyway, I get this email a couple of days ago, and I'm going to read it to you as follows. Hello, I appreciate your channel and the mystery going on with the water in the world. And it is a mystery, I agree. My parents are in Belize for the next few weeks, and I asked my father if he could ask around about strange water happenings while they are there. Smart guy here. I like his way of thinking. Question to his dad. He's talking about a picture, apparently. His dad saying, "That looks nice. You're now a beach bum." They were just having a little fun. And he says, "Have you seen, heard any news about water anomalies going on in Belize, like water receding or disappearing?" This man's he's very perplexed by this water situation, much like I am. "I guess there is a lot of evidence around the world, but especially in the area where you are, strange things are going on with the oceans." His father replied, "I haven't heard of anything, but I'll ask Edlin. He's a boat captain and fishing guide. If anyone would know, he would know." So here's a guy that spends probably 5 to 7 days a week out on the ocean in a boat. Yes, he would know. 2 days later, he gets a response back. Talk to Edlin. Edlin is the boat captain. Talked to him yesterday about any weird things that he has noticed about the ocean lately. He said yes. He has noticed that there's at least 3 differences from what he would consider normal. The first is that the ocean currents are crossing over each other. Let me repeat that. He's noticed many differences from what he would consider normal. And this is a guy that's a boat captain that's out on the ocean probably every day. The first observation he noticed is the ocean currents are crossing over each other. He said you can see it because the water looks like it's boiling. This is off the coast of Belize. He avoids those areas because it can have a lot of turbulence. The next was that the ocean currents are coming way up into the lagoon. If you look at a map of Plencia, you will see how large the lagoon is. This is a freshwater lagoon fed by rivers in the north. This has an impact on the marine life and vegetation around the lagoon. The third is the tides. For the majority of the year, they seem normal, going out a foot or so at low tide, coming in the same a foot or two during high tide. Before, that would double in October. Now, October of last year. Now I think he meant February, the tide will move past the October normal a couple of feet, plus 3 feet on top of that. He said the ocean will recede way out at low tide and flood the beach at high tide. This man has been in the ocean his entire life. That's how he makes his living. So this isn't just hearsay, or this isn't just a casual observation. This is a man that has been on the ocean his entire life. He said these strange observations started about 3 years ago. And the man goes on to say, "I hope this helps in following what's going on. If there's anything specific you would like to ask, he can relay the message now," because they're going to be there for another week. So if you guys have any questions that you would like me to ask this gentleman that's in Belize, that has contact with a boat captain that has spent his entire life out on the oceans, let me know, and I will relay the question to him. But ocean currents are overlapping each other off the shores of Belize, and they've noticed a fluctuation in the high tide, low tides, like we're seeing in different places all around the globe. And this is happening in random sequence, not necessarily during a supermoon, full moon. It just happens. But anyway, back to the river gauges. And I want to thank you again, Casey, for that email. I really appreciate that. The river gauges we're going to look at some from Florida through Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, up into New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. All at the same time, we're going to look at how the water reacts when the rivers were observed being empty in North Carolina. So here we go. These are screenshots I've taken from right here. All of these are river gauges. The ones that you see, by the way, in orange and red, especially purple. Purple is major flood stage. Orange and red are either moderate or minor flood stage. There's a lot of rivers right now that are overflowing their banks. But anyway, this is where the information comes from right here. And let's get started with, let's start down in Florida. Let's just take a look at how the water was reacting when this is when the water disappeared from North Carolina, just as, well, right around the midday between March 1st and March 2nd. But look at how the water overall is behaving in this, it's the Manatee Springs down in Florida. See how it's quick and choppy? Just remember that sequence. That's a frequency. Just remember that. We're going to look at another one in Florida. Fast, much bigger movement. And again, this is right here in Florida. Remember that. We are south of North Carolina. Same scenario. Fast, choppy during the time of March 2nd. This one's kind of got a little bit of a, I don't know, different motion to it, but still it's kind of fast, choppy in comparison to what we're about to see. Same scenario. Northeast Florida. Same thing. Tight pattern, kind of choppy. And then one more. Tight pattern, kind of choppy. Now we're going to go up to Georgia. Kind of loosens up a little bit, but goes down to a negative reading and then back up to a positive. Negative, positive, negative, positive. It's still doing that. Look at this one. Dropped off and it continues to decline. There's no resonance hardly at all. So I don't know if maybe that's a malfunctioning gauge or what, but that's what it's showing us. Choppy, fluctuating from near a minor flooding stage down to a negative reading. Look at that. It's right here in southern Georgia. So it goes from minor flooding to a negative reading. Minor flooding to a negative reading. Very unusual. South Georgia. Okay. Look at this reading here. From 1 to 0, nearly 2 to 0. The day of March 2nd, it went down below, barely up above 1 foot, and then back down below 0, or at 0 again. That's St. Mary's River at Traders Hill in Georgia. One more from Georgia. Tight, very long, stretching from 5 feet above to 5 feet below. There's a 10-foot swing there. It goes on for several days, and when I took these screenshots was on the 4th. That's a 10-foot swing, so you're looking at very unusual readings in that location. So now we're going to go to North Carolina. These should show a drop, and they do. This is where it looks like the energy was centered here in the Carolinas. Everything was rolling along pretty good on the 28th. The 1st, midday on the 1st into the 2nd, drops off. And it never did recover. Stayed that way from the 2nd to the 4th. Very unusual. Didn't come back. So here's another one, North Carolina. On the 2nd, you can see it dropped from 0. I mean, it didn't have far to go. Went down to a negative 2, and it slowly worked its way back up to 1 foot. And that's right here. Neuse River at Oriental. Another example of it dropping off pretty quickly. Midday on the 1st, drops down to a negative 2. Stayed that way for 12 hours. Slowly going back up to 0 over 24 hours later. So stayed empty for over 24 hours. You can see here again at this location. This is in Elizabeth City near the Mariners Wharf. Midday on the 1st, drops, a steep drop, and it has stayed down there, has not returned. So it's dropped down to a level of 1, and in some cases below 1. That's below 1 foot. And it's pretty much stayed down there ever since. Where did the water go? Same scenario here. Chowan River near Waterfront Park in Edenton. Edenton is the location of this empty canal right here. Okay. Look at the river gauge. Dropped off sharply midday on the 1st into the 2nd and has not recovered. Where did the water go? All of these, I've got 15 from North Carolina, and they all look the same. Sharp drop. Where did the water go? So you kind of get the idea. You got fast, choppy readings in Florida and Georgia. We move up into the Carolinas. It just drops off and stays down. In that case, it kind of slowly rebounded, but it was a very slow process. But if you look at this one here, dropped down nearly 4.5 feet and has stayed down, or at least until the 4th. So I'll just pick some more random ones. These two columns are North Carolina. This is one that dropped, stayed low, actually at a negative number, has slowly worked its way back up to 0. Pungo River at Belhaven, North Carolina. There's 2 rows here of North Carolina. I could have picked more. Same scenario here. On the midday on the 1st, it took a big drop from 1 foot down to -5. And it slowly worked its way back up to 0. Tranter's Creek above Washington, North Carolina. Let's take one more from North Carolina. See the drop? They all pretty much show the same steep drop down to a -5, and it's worked its way back up to 1. And that's kind of where it was when it began its steep decline on the 1st. So that water has slowly returned. Let's look at one more from North Carolina. This one looks kind of unusual, but you can see on the 1st it started a downward trend and is not yet recovered. It's at a negative reading, which is empty. Again, that's in North Carolina. So let's move from there up to Virginia. Big drop on the 2nd. And it kind of bounced, flatlined again on the 3rd at a -0. Slightly below 0, back up to 2, back down to 0. Very erratic, unusual behavior. That's in Virginia. Let's go to another location in Virginia. You can see a sharp drop midday on the 1st, flat lines, stays way low, or at least lower than what it's been at. You can see a disruption right there. And it went back up and is regained. That's the North Anna River near Partlow, and that's in Virginia. Another location in Virginia, you can see it just went from 0 to a negative reading and has not yet rebounded. Beggar's Bridge, Virginia. Same thing. Dropped off, did not rebound. And that's in Virginia. North Landing near Creeds. One more from Virginia. Same thing. Dropped off, never did come back. Where did the water go? Where was that one at? That one was Northwest River near Northwest. Northwest River near Northwest Virginia. That's exactly what it reads. So let's go from there to New Jersey. Shows a increase. What? So the water increases in New Jersey. So it went from, let's say 3 foot, just above 3 foot, to just above 5 foot. So there's a 2 foot increase near Riverdale, New Jersey. Another increase in New Jersey. Same time, midday on the 1st, it went from 2 feet to nearly 5 feet. And then slowly went back down. So we saw an increase up in the New Jersey area, or at least that's the trend that we're seeing. Look at this increase. Went from 4 feet midday on the 1st, clear up to over 10 feet. There's a 6 foot increase. Crosswicks Creek at Extonville, New Jersey. I was keeping my eye on the Toms River in New Jersey during that time frame too. I was looking for variances in that river, but I haven't seen any so far. But look at that. Nearly a 6-foot jump in New Jersey. Let's keep going in New Jersey. I have 10 readings from New Jersey. Same situation here. March 1st, it starts to increase. Goes up from just above 1 foot to nearly 6 foot. A 5-foot increase in New Jersey. So you're starting to see the pattern now, right? Look at that one. This is North Branch Raritan River in South Branch, New Jersey. Same time, just midday on the 1st. Goes up from 2 feet to just above 7 feet. Stays there for a brief period of time and then levels back off. So we ask, where did the water go? Looks like to me it went north. Big swinging move, but they're not as tight as they were down south. Remember how they looked down in Georgia and Florida? They were real tight signatures. These aren't as tight. That's kind of an even 12-hour, flow. That looks pretty normal, really, except for when it flatlines here on the 2nd a couple of times. And that was the day of the event, really. You can see this one drops way down on the 2nd to a negative reading. But those are big swings from 7 foot to -1. An 8-foot swing in some cases. That is in Maurice River, Bevalve, New Jersey. One more from New Jersey. These are just big swings, flatlining here on the 2nd at a negative reading. So some were showing water, not necessarily anomalies, but a big influx of water, like it was trying to manage an increase of water, but it didn't maintain it like, say for instance, like this one did. Look at that bump. See there? You can see like a wave come through. This is what I'm getting at. The water emptied from North Carolina. It looks like to me it went north. It had to go somewhere, right? It looks like to me if we follow a trend, it looks like to me it possibly went north. First, this one bumps up just a little over 2 feet, but still you can see a clear wave in the river gauge. And this one's Pascack River at Westwood, New Jersey. So let's go to Maryland, see what's going on in Maryland on that day. Another little bump, a wave, same exact time. March 1st into March 2nd. Small, but it's a little farther north. But you can see everything was pretty smooth until a wave come through on March 1st into the 2nd. Didn't last very long, but you see an increase. So it got a little less, not as strong as it was in the southern part of the eastern seaboard. The farther north you go, but it's still there. So it looks like the water that maybe left North Carolina, see that big drop there? Looks like to me that drop shows up in New Jersey. Because if you turn that upside down, let's just do it. You want to do it? Watch. Let's flip vertical. There's what it looks like in North Carolina, right? There's the gauge in North Carolina. There's the gauge in New Jersey. There's where the water went. Went north. Had to go somewhere. Didn't just vanish off the face of the earth. Another one in New Jersey showing big swings. Let's go over to Maryland. Got the wave in Maryland. I picked 5 in Maryland. This one here showed a decline and then back up, but you can clearly see some sort of a anomaly in the river gauge reading. Just depends on how the land terrain probably managed the flow of water. But here at this location, this is Deer Creek near Darlington, Maryland, and you can see a wave. So it looks like to me the water possibly went from south to north on that day. So I've showed you readings from Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, New Jersey, Maryland. Let's look at Delaware. I've got a couple more. Delaware shows a big drop down into the negative range on the 2nd and then back up, and it looks like it's kind of regained to where it was prior to the big drop. But this one is Delaware Bay at Reedy Point, Delaware. I think that's the same one. Let's look at this one. Yeah, those are both the same one. Sorry about that. Pennsylvania. Big swings. You can tell it's kind of got an unusual slant to it there on the 2nd, but big swings. That's in Pennsylvania. Don't know if it's related to what we're looking at, but it could be. This one here, I think it's just a broken gauge. I don't know, but if the Hudson River at Piermont is at a -7, then that tells me that this area right here, that it's bone dry. It has been for a few days. So, and I'm sure that that one is probably tidally influenced, but that one is showing a bone dry reading. And this one here is showing anomalies too. So I don't know if this is even accurate. That almost looks like a broken gauge showing extreme negative. So it's probably broken. And then Connecticut, I just wanted to share this one to show that there were big swings measured up in Connecticut, which is understandable. You know, there were big, strong winds up in that area, so I get that. But I just wanted to show you the differences in the gauges from Florida. They were showing real choppy, quick signatures. You go from there to the Carolinas, where it showed a absence of water, where the water disappeared from certain locations around North Carolina, up into areas of Maryland and New Jersey, where you can see a increase in water. So it looks like the water may have vacated in those areas. And where did it go? Maybe it went north. According to the river gauges, I think it did. And in some cases, it has not returned. Some of these river levels are still low. And we're still seeing reports surface from around the world. I've seen some from Denmark. Where else did I see? I think it was just Denmark here recently, within the last week or so. The Potomac, that one I heard about a couple of days ago. I just wanted to share it in this video with all those river gauges and show that it looks like when this water did disappear, it may have went to the north and showed up on river gauges up north of these areas. So that was the gist of this video. Here's a picture I took yesterday. I had no idea that it looked like this in the sky. Maybe it didn't. Maybe this is just the camera's interpretation. This is unedited here. And this is just slightly edited. All I did was adjust the contrast just a little bit. Pretty cool picture. I took that from right out here in southeast Phoenix. I was just taking a picture of the plains. I didn't know that the sun looked like it had wings at the time I took the picture. And then I can't confirm these photographs that I received on March 1st. Maybe you guys can help me out on this one. I've actually Googled it and can't seem to find anything on Google either. This is supposedly Brazil. Looks like an extreme low tide event again, which would be a water anomaly. I had 4 photographs sent in, supposedly from Brazil, but I cannot find any news articles related to this. So have you guys heard of any water anomalies off of coastal Brazil within the past week? This was sent to me on March 1st, actually March 2nd. I think it occurred on March 1st, so can't confirm or deny it. I'm just simply sharing these with you guys. Maybe these are old pictures. I don't know. But I don't think so. Just can't confirm it, but I wanted to share that. And I told you about the guy that talked to the boat captain in Belize. He's noticing definite water anomalies off the coast of Belize. He's also noticing ocean currents that are crossing over each other to where it looks like the water is boiling. And this is a guy that's a boat captain. He's been out on the ocean his whole life. So if anybody would recognize unusual anomalies in the ocean, it would be a man just like that. So I've updated the map here with the ones that we do know about. I'm sure there's probably 10 to 20 times more that we're just simply not hearing about. So a lot of water anomalies continuing. Those there might possibly be from Brazil, but I cannot confirm or deny those. If you haven't checked out the website, by all means do. Bookmark the website at MrMBB333.com. your one-stop space weather shop. All these tabs right here are real-time space weather data if you're interested in things like this. I put everything conveniently in one nice little location. If you want to see what the ionosphere is doing, simply click on that tab. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, real-time data. Keep track of what's going on with your Earth. Here's Earth's vital signs. I've used this for many, many years. This is out of Rice University. Solar wind density, speed, pressure, temperature, magnitude, angle, azimuth, convection, the whole nine is right here. If you study those every day, you'll notice connections. You'll notice trends. That's what we study here, trends. Solar wind speeds, the K index, X-ray solar flares, the moon phase. Let's see what our moon phase is in. March 6th, waning gibbous, 78%. And you've got the Schumann resonance. Pay attention to the graph only. Let's take a look at it real quick. I haven't looked at it yet today. Today's my first time looking at it. A little bit of activity, not too much. We've seen it much, much higher. There's normal readings right there. It's supposed to be around 7.86, but recently it does fluctuate, and it does fluctuate sometimes quite profoundly. And don't forget to check out the Sky Phenomenon photo gallery. It will be updated today with several new pictures. Thank you all for sharing your pictures. Greatly appreciate it. This is made possible by you. And I have to admit, I put a couple of photos in here myself. But 99% of these photos are from you, the viewer. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. If you have photos that you would like to share and have them put in the photo gallery, send them to reports@mrmbb333.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a super day and be safe out there.